You have reached review time with Emperiol. Today's review will be P Valley, Season 1, Episode 7, Last Call for Alcohol. Let's get into it. So, P Valley was on a week hiatus. They took off a week. So, they got Episode 7, and the season finale episode 8, will be next week. So that it'll also run into the season premiere of Power Book 2. So let's get into this episode. This episode was okay. Wasn't as explosive as I thought it was going to be. So what you have going on, you have Autumn is on her way. Autumn / Haley is on her way, about to leave, and she takes the newspapers off of her windows in her apartment, and she made a deal with, I guess, the landlord. You know, he gave her a bucket car, and she's on her way, but now she's parting her way. So she links up with Mercedes at the club, and on her way to the Mercedes going to the club, Mercedes was making her last drop, and in her last drop, when she was collecting the money, she went and seen on the news Uncle Clifford and her mom doing a protest on a casino coming to the area. And so meanwhile, the mayor and Andre's in his office having a back and forth because the brothers who pulled a gun out on Andre and Corbin, they were in the mayor's office upset that Andre reneged the deal, and basically they're gonna, instead of them getting their millions up front, they're gonna get leasing fees owed to them. So, and they get 1% of the casino earnings. And so they was pissed at that, and they already seen that Corbin had signed, and they was hot, so they signed it and pretty much told the mayor, like, it's not much they can do with this situation, but when it come time for him to get reelected, they'll make sure he don't get elected. So then the mayor's upset. He has a back and forth with Andre. His assistant comes in and tells him his ribbon cutting was postponed, and he turns on the TV, and there is Mercedes' mom, Patrice Woodbine, out there speaking to the public about the casino coming in and everything like that, and right next to her, Uncle Clifford up there. And so, of course, like I said, all these things is happening at once. Mercedes is collecting the last drop for Autumn, and she sees that on TV, so she's pissed. Meanwhile, the mayor calls the sheriff, tells the sheriff, yo, I need you to basically press the issue on Pynk. And so the sheriff shows up to Pynk, basically to get at Uncle Clifford. So before he said whatever to Uncle Clifford, they had their back and forth, basically telling him the next day is the auction day for Pynk. And so he pretty much didn't take Uncle Clifford money. So Uncle Clifford got pissed, stormed off, and went in the club. Meanwhile, while the mayor was leaving, Autumn pulls up. He looks in the mirror, sees her, pulls out the missing picture post, and sees that that's the same person that says Haley. So he pretty much at that moment pretty much called the Martavius that's looking for her. That's how he ends up at the club, because the sheriff told him where he's seen her at. So put two and two together. He pretty much, okay, so that's where she's been hiding at. So she goes in the club, and at that moment, Uncle Clifford and Mercedes is having a back and forth. Why was you with my mom? And she pretty much telling her, well, Uncle Clifford's telling her, well, he got a big mouth, excuse me, but your mom's mouth bigger. And so he needed her mom to go in there because she got away with people and she could draw a crowd. So they had their back and forth, basically telling Mercedes, look, man, you need to come to this last engagement we had. I'm going to need you or whatever. And Mercedes was standoffish at first, but then after the talk with Uncle Clifford, like, yo, I need you to make it happen. And so uh, Mercedes agreed, and they basically got the laws of Pynk they was going back and forth with. So meanwhile, Mercedes and Haley have their discussion, and they're saying Mercedes handed her money from the drop that she got, and in return, Haley handed her a bag full of money, and basically was like, "Yo, you know, you deserved it." And then Mercedes was like, "Nah, you gave me 10,000 more," and then she was like, "Well, no, I don't need that. All I needed was the 10,000." So she reaches out to somebody that I think she plans. I think his name Coach. That she plans to. It looked like she planned to invest 10,000 with or do something in that nature. So she Mercedes pretty much convinced her to call Andre and give him like one, basically do the do with him regardless if he's married or not. You know what I'm saying? And call him for a last dance. So she did, and all the stuff Andre was going through, he pretty much was at the bar drinking and pretty much like, all right, he gonna show up. So this big event, everybody's gearing up for that, and the big last night of Pynk, and pretty much Uncle Clifford pretty much went around and gave all the girls their accolades and pretty much said, you know, tomorrow's the funeral of Pynk, but today, you know, we going you know, basically end it right with a bang. So Little Murda decided to take Uncle Clifford's car and go out in a hideaway somewhere near Pynk and, you know, be in his world romantic. You know, they had a little scene with that. But then from there, the crowd was starting to get packed. So while the crowd was getting packed, Uncle Murda's manager was on the phone talking to like some record execs and basically like, yeah, you know what I mean, Uncle Murda, he going little Murda, he going tear it up, woo, woo, woo. So you can see him getting away from the crowd. So you already see what's gonna happen. You got Little Murda already with Uncle Clifford near the club but off somewhere, and you know his manager is talking to somebody. He's off away from the crowd, so you already put two to two together. He gonna see Little Murda and Uncle Clifford together. So he's seen that and it went in a cut. Meanwhile, you got Keyshawn. She's getting beat on again, and she almost had a kissing moment with Diamond, but it didn't happen. So you know you got that scenario going, and also the night Keyshawn's husband or boyfriend that's been abusing her, he shows up to the club, and Gidget doesn't like him. So Gidget mouths off at him, but I think he had something going on with Gidget at one point because he pretty much know her, and he pretty much told her she was trailer trash and what she gonna do, and Keyshawn ain't going nowhere. So all the girls always see Keyshawn getting beat, and one of the times that Autumn, I mean at the night of when Autumn seen Keyshawn beat, they was like, Gidget was pretty much, I can't believe she's pretty much, she's still sticking with him. Won't she just leave him? And she's like, well, Autumn was like, well, when you leave him, that's when they try to kill you or whatever. And then Gidget was like, well, that sounds like you saying that off of experience. And so you see Autumn with this look on her face. So meanwhile, fast forward to the night of, everybody's doing their dancing in the club, and when Little Murder was getting his fit together to go into the club, his manager appeared and pretty much rolled up on him. But the manager called him by his government name, and he was like, "Yo, didn't I tell you don't call me by my government name?" And so the manager pretty much told him like, "Yo, um, I seen you, and I thought that was supposed to be one time or something like that." And he was just like, and then the manager pretty much like, "Yo, when you in love with somebody, it's just something spiritual, it's whatever, whatever." And so what the manager pretty much was saying, you do you, whatever you into, that's on your own. But you're not gonna let this situation get in the way of us stacking this paper and getting to the bag. And so he left Little Murder with that. So he basically telling Little Murder like, if you want the fame and the stardom or do whatever, you're gonna have to put that to the side so you can get the money. And that kind of left a stoic look on Little Murder's face. So the rest of the episode is pretty much him getting ready to go on stage from what it looked like, and him thinking if he gonna rock the stage, and he's thinking about what the managers just said to him. So while they in the club, Andre's in the club, and Martavius is in the club too. And so Andre um, sees Autumn, and she take him to the private room, and they getting the dance on. And at this moment, she going all in. She took everything off, and she's ready to go all in. Pull this joint out, ready to get busy, and he keeps getting his phone blowing up. And one of the times he answered the phone, it's his wife. She came to surprise him. She's in his room, and don't know how she got in the room, but she's in his room, and she like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "I'm at the office. I'm in my room at first," but then she was like, "You ain't at the room, because I'm in your room." Then he's like, "Well, I'm at the bar." And then at that moment, he knew he had to get going. And so Autumn looked at him looked at him, basically said, "Bye, Andre." You know what I'm saying? And he knew he had to go. So it shows Andre get back to the room with his wife, and he, ain't seen her in a minute, but he's still adrenaline running from being with Autumn, and he pretty much do with his wife on the table, and then the wife had like this subpar satisfying look, like, "You was happy to see me, wasn't you?" And that really wasn't the case, just that he was all worked up and run off adrenaline from coming with Autumn or whatever. So that was that for him. You then had Martavius sitting there, and then Mercedes popped up on him and pretty much was like, "Yo, he trying to what's up?" And he pretty much like, "Yo, I'm cool." He gave her a stack of money and pretty much was like, "Yo, I'm trying to see her right there." And he pointed to Autumn on the stage. And so Mercedes is waving Autumn down like, "Yo, come, come through. This joker got money." And so she come off stage and rolling through the crowd, and then you see him, and she left with this ghost look on her face, like she just seen a ghost. And then she's like, "Yeah, he want to go to like basically the boom boom room, the private room." And so Autumn, she didn't really make a scene. She kind of looked like shocked and scared. And at first, Mercedes didn't pick it up. She was just like, "Yeah, girl, take him, basically get that money." But then, as Autumn walked off, she kept looking at Autumn pretty much like something's up. She didn't, she looked like she seen a ghost. So, the guy coach that comes there, and really, I think Mercedes had him come for business because she got the 10,000 and she want to invest. That's what it seems like. She want to invest, and so, but she can't stop thinking about Autumn. So she keep looking back where Autumn's going. So it just shows Autumn going to the room with Martavius and pretty much it shows Martavius, and then you hear Autumn say, "I shot you," like basically to kill you, and he basically saying like, "Yeah, well, you didn't shoot me well enough, because I'm still here," and he said, "Where's my money?" So now you like, uh-oh, you know what I'm saying? So we're getting more and more the story of what really happened with them, what's up with the money, the transactions with the money and all that. So hopefully that comes out in the season finale. It shows the previews for next episode, like the women, all the women, like in funeral outfits. And I don't think it's like a real funeral. I think it's more or less like, um, because it was the funeral for all the women is showing up where the auction is. You know what I'm saying? And they showing up with their funeral. I think that's what they playing off of. You thinking somebody gonna get killed that's close to the cast, and then um, it's really not. I don't think so anyway. But other than that, it was an okay, decent episode for the most part. And we didn't really get to learn much, but that she did try to kill Martavius for whatever reason, and it did show a moment where um, it Autumn had a flashback and she was dancing on Martavius, and he heard the baby crying. He got up to check the baby, and he was in there with the baby. So it did have a flashback of that. So I guess hopefully on the next episode of season finale they show us like everything, how that all rolls, and also show Mercedes does make it in that boom boom room, and I guess they fighting with Martavius. So something happens in that matter, and because you hear Autumn scream like, "Don't like basically don't do it," or you don't know if she's talking to Mercedes or she's talking to Martavius or whatever. So you see that happening. Other than that, decent episode. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, comment if you in tune with the P Valley. Till next time.